Hello, welcome, and thank you to anyone who clicked on this video. Today, I'm just going to be doing a rundown on some of the things that have happened so far into the off season, and that is of July 8th. So anything in early July 8th. So anything that happens from this afternoon on happened after I made this. So let's get into it. First thing I'm going to be going over here is some of my favorite free agency signings, and these will be in no particular order. Starting off, I have Ryan Shea to Edmonton on a 5-year, $4 million annually contract. He's coming off a very good season where he was very productive, and all of it came 5v5. He had 30 points. He had 30 even strength points, and he'll be a number 5 defenseman in Edmonton. Will probably play on their third pair. I mean, I could see a scenario where I'd have him on my second pair over Jake Wallman, but it's fine. They're probably going to have him on their third pair. So there isn't much pressure, and it's at a reasonable cap hit. So this is a good move, and it's one of a couple good moves they made. I've really liked their offseason so far. Next, we have Andrei Kuzmenko to the Penguins for a 1 year deal worth $5 million. I said it before, I loved the Mantha deal last season. I think this is kind of similar. He'll get good minutes and deployment, and they'll either be better for it or they'll flip him at the deadline. As a Penguins hater, I hate the Dubas keeps making these good buy low, sell high moves. If we look at his card here, I think the numbers are a little inflated. I think he's got a little bit of system bias here. He played for LA, so that defense is high. But he's a good player. We'll see what happens with Ricard Raquel. But if Ricard Raquel gets traded, expect to see Kuzmenko play with Sidney Crosby. And I'm sure everyone can probably guess how that'll work for him. Last, I have John Carlson to Tampa, a 2-year deal worth $8.5 million annually. They got their Radis replacement, and it's at a similar cap hit with less than a third of the term. I can't remember if Radis got 7 or 8 years, but Carlson's at 2. So there's no age risk there, and I'd bet he'll be good for the same amount of, he'll be good throughout Tampa's window, what it is, I think. So now they have an incredibly deep blue line. Victor Hedman's going to be their 5th defenseman. If I'm correct, the way I see it, you'll have Mosier and Carlson on the top pair, then McDonough and Chernak, and then Hedman and one of their plug guys, Dastu. Crozier might have left in free agency, or Lilleberg, right? They have Lilleberg. So those first 5 defensemen are very, very good. Let me see his numbers here, right? The defense number is low, but you know what you're getting with him. You're happy for it, and he'll be good playing on that top power. I mean, Darren Radish was a point per game last year playing on that top power play. Carlson I mean, he doesn't have the shot that Radish does. Not that he has a bad shot. Um, he's a good shot. His goal number will probably go up, but he might have a ridiculous season playing with Kucherov and all those guys. My next part, I'm going to talk about a few contracts that I don't like at all. And this first one is technically not a free agency deal, but it might as well be. That is AJ Greer to the Ducks, 4 years, $4.25 million. Sorry about that. He's not bad, right? He's not a bad player, but he's a fourth liner. You 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 can't give fourth liners that kind of money. That's ridiculous. And this one came back to bite them quickly. I'll touch on that. That'll be another portion of this video later. But they're in a cap crunch now, and I'm sure that they wish they didn't sign this deal because it's not, number one, the value's not good. Number two, it immediately backfired. Pat Verbeek has had a not great offseason so far. Next one is probably the one everyone kind of expected to see that's watching this. Jacob Trouba, 4x8.25. This one is bad. I haven't looked yet to see if their cap is going to be tight, but they just added $18 million between Trouba and Darnell Nurse for 4 more years. By the time those contracts are done, they're going to owe deals to Celebrini, Smith, Misa, Sam Dickinson, Stenberg. That's a lot of money that you're going to have to give out to these young guys. And with the Leo Carlsson offer sheet, if he's making $18 million, even before that, Macklin Celebrini, he could walk in and say, I want $20 million. And then, again, with the Leo Carlsson offer sheet, Fantilli, Bedard, what are they going to make? Obviously, Bedard will be more, but say Fantilli gets $12 million plus. That's what Will Smith's going to ask for. And then we'll see where things go. But what's if Misa develops properly and has a big year? He's going to ask for that too. Stenberg's probably going to be around that number if everything goes to plan. And then Sam Dickinson, we'll see what happens with him. He seems like a guy who's maybe destined for a bridge deal until he really pops, but that's still money you're going to have to pay. And then Graf needs a contract this year too. So this isn't good. And that's not to say I dislike Jacob Trouba. I've been a fan of Trouba for, I guess, my whole time as a fan. When all that went down in New York, I wanted Columbus to get him. They were rumored to be in on him. It didn't go down that way, but it's what I wanted. And he can still be, a middle pair guy that plays tough minutes, throws big hits, chips in offensively. Right, he's coming off a 35-point season, and he's a good locker room guy. Say what you want about what happened in New York, but that really tore them up. When Drury did that locker room was not happy about it. So I think Trouba's he is a good guy to bring in, but at this cap hit with this term, it's it's tough. Yeah, you see the analytics here on the J Fresh card. I do not agree. I think he's much better than this, but there's something to it. Next, the last one I have here is Colton Sissons, 2-year deal worth 4.25 annually. There's a couple things that make me dislike this. First is the AAV. Sissons is what he is, and he's not bad at it, but he's a defense only fourth line center. This is a ridiculous contract for that. See, his defensive rating there is good, but he's not real good at anything else. Not even good at penalty killing. But again, don't take these cards. They're not the gospel. But then, so I didn't like that. And then they went out and they got Teddy Bluger, who I like more. I think Teddy Bluger, essentially, you're getting him to do the exact same thing, but better, at half the cap hit. So I don't understand that. I do not get that. And then, after that, they go out and trade for Nick Paul, who's better than both of them. So, again, at a lower cap hit than Colton Sissons. So, it looks like it'll be harmless. They're not in a tight, well, they don't need cap space, but it just don't make sense to me. Next, I will be going over some trades that went down and giving my grade on for both teams. First is Simone Nemec for 2 firsts and a second and a prospect. Calgary, I gave them a B-. They get a guy who will hopefully be their second offensive defenseman for the foreseeable future. He's right-handed. He's not, I guess, between Nemec and Parekh, one of those guys should really hit. I don't mind the contract either. It was 5 by 7.4 maybe, which it's fine. I don't like it, but I don't dislike it. I think it's a good risk, and their back end looks pretty good moving forward. They did a lot of that this year. New Jersey gets a D-. Value-wise, the return is fine, but the Devils don't care about those picks. I forget whose picks they are, but one of them's Vegas. I know that, but they're gonna be in the back end of the first round, and they flubbed a second overall pick. They picked Nemec second overall, and now he's gone for scraps. So that whole situation, it's not good for New Jersey. Next, we have Jordan Kyrou for a first, Connor McMichael, and Milton Gastrin. This is a win-win, as you can see by the ratings. Washington gets an A. They added a great player. It's pretty straightforward. They're a better team right now for this. They got what they wanted out of it. St. Louis gets an A+. I love this for them. Everyone knew Kyrou wasn't going to be around for too much longer, and after one of the worst seasons, if not the worst season of his career, they got a very good second line forward with Connor McMichael, along with Milton Gastrin, whom I'm a very big fan of, and they got that first round pick. So this is a great win-win trade. Shocker, because these are two very well-run organizations. Next, we have Bowen Byram and Jordan Greenway for the fourth overall pick, a second rounder, and Louis Crevier. Chicago gets a C. My grade's a bit higher for them than some people might have. That's because I do like Bowen Byram a good bit. I think he can be a number one, and with the ice time and deployment he'll get this year, I expect 55 to 60 points. I'm thinking we're going to get a big year from him. Obviously, he is quite overpaid, but when Hughes and Makar are making $20 million next year, it's not going to look quite as bad. Buffalo gets an A plus, although I don't agree with their pick. Right, they took Dax and Rudolph. The sheer amount they got for Byram and dumping Greenway is ridiculous. So I have no idea how they managed that. And it's actually kind of funny. If anyone here watched my video on the draft eligible defenseman, I actually compared Dax and Rudolph to Bowen Byram. I thought they play a little bit similar. So that's just a fun tidbit. But yeah, Buffalo wins this, but I don't think Chicago's too upset about it. As upset as maybe people thought originally, how I thought originally. You gotta give stuff up you gotta give to get, and they thought they needed a number one defenseman, and they got someone who I think can at least fill some of that gap. Next, this one involves my team. We have Valerie Nichushkin for a second, third, and a fifth. Columbus gets an A plus, or just an A. I think Nichushkin is a great ad. He's got a good contract. He's a top six forward that does literally everything. He kills penalties. He plays on the power play. And just stand down there in front of the net, bang some pucks in. But he's also got some dynamic play to him. This kind of makes the Garland move a little bit more annoying. But in a vacuum, this is a very good ad for Columbus. Colorado gets a B. They're definitely probably a little bit upset to lose Nichushkin, but it's a cap dump. They needed the money, and this is what they wanted. They got what they wanted out of it, so they get a B. You can't hold it against them. They did what maybe you could have gotten more value, I guess, but all you really wanted was the money. Our last two here, we got the heavy hitters. Brady Tkachuk to Florida for the 9th overall and a couple more firsts. I gave them both a B. Florida is better, although I don't think they needed another forward with this profile. Like, he's arguably the fifth best forward on this team, so those numbers are going to go down. Right? He was almost a point per game this year. I don't expect to see that. So this might not look great for them around this time next year, but they got to be, because they made themselves better. They don't care about those picks. It works. Ottawa gets a B. It's a little bit more of a positive B, in my opinion, than Florida, which sounds silly, right? Because it's the same grade. But if you put both sides of this on like a balance scale, if you can picture that, like the the law symbol, Ottawa's package would it would weigh more because they got the ninth overall pick, and they they moved off of Kachuk, and that's annoying. But everything that's come out since then has made it seem like this is something they had to do. He was not, he's their captain, and he really lost the locker room. Players weren't happy with him. So this is just something that had to happen, and they got the ninth overall pick for it. And then they went and turned around and made a not the best move, in my opinion, which we'll get to. But they made a move. They replaced some of the production. We'll get into that with the next one. Here it is. William Eklund and two prospects for the ninth overall pick. Ottawa gets another B. Like I said with the last one, if you put them both on the balance scale, Ottawa's package would be lifted up because San Jose's return weighs more. Eklund isn't as good as Kachuk yet, but he fits their core better, and he's a good offensively gifted top six forward. So they're happy to add him. But San Jose gets an A, just because of the value. I wouldn't have been so eager to move Eklund, but you get the ninth overall pick for him. And they used it on potentially a future top pairing defenseman. I might have tried to have gotten a more proven guy, because like a current NHL player, because if Verhoff, he's not a sure thing at all, and if he doesn't work out and you gave up Eklund for him, that it plus Haltonen, who is a good prospect, and another one who's slipping my mind right now, like that's gonna hurt, and it's gonna look real bad when you put it together with some of the other moves that they made this summer. This could be a pretty bad summer for San Jose if this one doesn't work out. But just the value, I have them getting an A. So those are all the trades. And the last thing I'm going to cover here is the big one, and that is the Leo Carlsson offer sheet. As I'm sure everyone knows, Leo Carlsson accepted an offer sheet from the Philadelphia Flyers for 5 years with a cap hit of $18 million. And I'll get this out of the way first. If I'm Anaheim, I'm not matching this. I'm taking the picks, and I'm using them. And that's not to say not matching it would leave them in a good situation. It would be bad. This is bad either way. But I'm taking those picks. I'm going out and I'm taking a risk on maybe Elias Pettersson. Maybe Shane Wright too. Not one or the other. I guess I'd go for both. And then like Zach Whitecloud. They need defense. We'll get to that. I don't think they have the goods to go get like Dylan Larkin, right? Although maybe Yzerman would bend a little bit for his protege, Verbeek, and I don't think Robert Thomas is gonna get traded. But you could go with that if he's on the market, and you're like, and Anaheim's tells St. Louis, here's 4 first-round picks for Robert Thomas. That's easy. If they say yes, you do that in a heartbeat, and you're better for it. But That's what I would do. I don't think that's what they're gonna do. So we'll see what happens. I think they'll match it, and that brings me right into another strong opinion I have. If I was a Ducks fan, I wouldn't want Carlson back. I'd be pissed. Um, you look at their cap space here. He can never claim to be the team first guy. He just hung the Ducks out to dry if he comes back. They don't have the money to sign Gauthier. They're gonna have to dump someone else. They're gonna have to sell off pieces of an already depleted team here. Like look at this decor. What this is horrible. And they can't do anything about it. I mean, look at their forwards. Frank Vetrano had like 15 points last year. Alex Killorn's not a top 6 forward, although Gauthier should be up there anyway. I don't know what their like actual on ice looks like. If Gauthier works on this third line, then he does. But they needed to improve this team. And if they match the offer sheet, that's completely out of the realm of possibility. This is a horrible event for the Ducks, and Leo Carlson is entirely responsible for it. You can try and throw blame out to Carl or to for Beak or Philadelphia, but he's the one that accepted it. Minchikov, someone came to Minchikov with an offer sheet. He didn't accept it, and it seems like he used it to get to improve his contract. Carlson didn't do that. He took a ridiculous cap hit and hamstringed his team. I don't know how you can support the guy knowing he chose a bag over a better chance at a cup. He's going to be overpaid throughout this entire contract. And that's a little rant. As you can tell, I'm a bit irked by the situation. And I'm especially irked by the coverage because no one actually wants to say what he just did. I don't know why it feels taboo in the hockey world to acknowledge that a player just made an incredibly greedy decision. Like, that's hockey culture. That's always been kind of a selling point, right? That they just want to win. Hockey players, all they want is that Stanley Cup, and it's fine not to. Like, if Leo Carlson's number one priority was to get paid as much money as possible, that's fine. But don't ever say that your goal was winning a cup, because you just made it exponentially harder for your team to win a cup. This also, there's going to be some ripple effects throughout the league. Like I said, this affects what Bedard's going to make, because chances are Bedard was going to ask for a lot of money, but now he has like a perfect comparison. And that really makes it tough on Chicago to say, are you crazy? Like, if he says, he was probably going to say, I want $16 or $17 million. And Chicago was going to say, are you insane? But now he can say Leo Carlson makes $18 million. Same thing with Fantilli. As a Columbus fan, it hurts me to say, Fantilli's not as good as Carlson. At least right now, he probably doesn't project to be either. but he's still going to argue he is, and he's going to use this contract to argue for what he wants. And then Will Smith will be up next year, and all these other forwards. This just blew the market open on these young forwards. But sorry, I got a little heated at the end there. But thank you if you made it this far. Again, any input, whether that's on my presentation or my thoughts, I'll read them if you say it down below. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see if you come back.